Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this lecture, we will discuss about the same topic as we discussed in the previous lecture. Most attention has been paid to climate impact on crop production. It is clear that livestock and fisheries will also suffer significant impacts. So it is very clear from this sentence that the climate impacts can affect crop production and livestock as well. Scientist Philip Thornton warns that raising livestock and catching fish will also be challenged by a new climate. Grasses are expected to decrease in quality with increased temperature, forcing the grasses to become more fibrous and less nutritious, and increased drought frequency could put many farm animals at risk. Philip Thornton also warns that when we raising livestock and catching of fish from the sea will also affect the new climate change as grasses are expected to decrease. Mostly grasses in some of the areas will decrease due to shortage of the rainfall in these areas, and increased temperature will make these grasses fibrous instead of more nutritious. When it is green, it is nutritious. When it is dry, so then it becomes fibrous. And increased drought frequency could put many farm animal at risk. Increased drought mean when there is low precipitation or rainfall in these areas, so it will create threat for the farm animals, and it will make risk for the farm animals. So temperature impact on crop yields. It means temperature impacts on crop production. So temperature is significant for a range of crop physiological processes, the most important being pollination and grain filling, as well as basic photosynthesis. So basic photosynthesis, pollination is very important physiological processes of the crops, and temperature can play an important role in it. So here we discuss high temperatures, whether lasting over a series of days or an extreme point of several hours, can have serious negative effect on these processes with downstream consequences for crop yields. So crop production, for the crop production, it is very important to have these processes of pollinations. When these pollination processes with the high temperature would have negative impact on the crop production, and the crop would not be able to give much production in the high temperatures. Especially sensitive are the reproductive organs. Extreme heat events of even short duration during flowering or pollination can severely reduce a harvest. So here in this slide, this line, we have discussed that as the crop is growing, its organs are more sensitive when it is heat or high temperature. At that time, for the short period of the time when the flowering or the pollination period is started, it can severely reduce harvesting. So again, the high temperature can impact the crop production. The current projection for the region of increase and extreme heat affecting 10% of the total land area by 2020 and 15% by 2030 poses a high risk to crop yields. So it means that when increasing extreme heat affecting 10% of the total land by 2020, but in 2030 15% of the total land would be at high risk for the crop production due to high temperature. And this is also one of the main problem of the you can say it, climate change. So next, temperature impacts on crop yields. Temperature increase will affect yield of most of the major staple crops in the region, including wheat, maize, rice, and potatoes. So compared to calculations of the potential yields without historic trends of the temperature changes since the 1980s, scientists have shown reduction already in the global maize and wheat production over the period from 1980 to 2008 by 3.8% and 5.5% respectively. So from 1980 to 2008, the wheat and maize production has been decreased up to 3.8 to 5.5% respectively in both of these. And maize it is 3.8% and wheat it is 5.5%. So in a similar study, scientists find that rice and wheat yield have declined by approximately 8% for every 1 degree increase in average growing season temperatures. So rice has much impact on growing temperature, which is 8% declining of their rice production. When the temperature is rising, so the rice production is declining up to 8%. So another study found that warmer nights and lower precipitation at the end of the growing seasons has caused significant loss of rice production in India. Yields could have been almost 6% higher without the historic change in climatic condition. So warmer nights and lower precipitation at the end of the growing season has caused significant loss of rice production in the India as well. So yield or production of the rice could have been almost 6% of the higher without a historic change. If there was no change in climate condition, there could be 6% higher production in India would take place. So due to climate change, the and warmer temperature, the production in the rice in India became lower and lower every year. So significance of water and regional agricultural development. Authors of the recent World Bank report turned down the heat, warned that the South Asia region is highly vulnerable even at warming of less than 2 degrees given the significant areas affected by droughts and flooding at the present temperatures. So authors in the World Bank report, they also discuss about the vulnerability of warming by less than 2 degrees centigrade. When it is increasing in the temperature, the significant areas affected and low rainfall is being taking place in these areas, and flooding is also coming due to high rise in temperature by 2 degrees centigrade. Changes in the timing and strength of the monsoon, which account for more than 70% of the region's annual precipitation, threaten rain-fed crops and livelihood dependent upon them. Under future climate change, the frequency of the years with above normal monsoon rainfall and of the years and extreme deficient rainfall is expected to increase. In the next video, we will discuss from the next line about these changes in the timing and strength of the monsoon, which account of the 70% of the region's annual precipitation. So threaten rain-fed crops and livelihood dependent upon them. So under the future climate change, the frequency of the years with above normal monsoon rainfall and of the years with extreme deficient rainfall is expected to increase. So again it is the same. So impact on the monsoon are likely already happening. Recent studies indicate a decline of as much as 10% in South Asian monsoon rainfall since 1950s. So since 1950s, 10% rainfall and the monsoon declined up to 10%, and due to which again the temperature will rise. So World Bank authors also note that sacrifices are expected to pose an increasing risk in parts of the region, particularly Pakistan, while increasing wetness is projected for southern India. So mostly in these notes, the author has said that the sacrifices would be given by Pakistani people and increasing risk in the part of the region, particularly Pakistan, they told. So while increasing wetness is predicted for southern India is also one of the main problem, and southern India people will also face these water scarcity in these areas. So sea level rise will have an impact on livelihood in Bangladesh, India, Maldives, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, with millions made homeless by the end of the century. Again, the sea level rise, they are talking about it, and the South Asian countries are on the threat for this sea level rise, and the salinity will increase. Sea level rise will increase salinity in coastal aquifers. Already in Bangladesh, land have been made uninhabitable by salt water interruption. So salt and water interruption has made the production in Bangladesh lower, especially in the rice production in these areas. So in the next video we will discuss about broader consequences of climate impact on food production.